Pokemon Unite labels Greedent an expert defender, but if you expect a traditional frontline protector, you are reading the label entirely wrong. If you park Greedent on a goal to absorb hits, you'll find he lacks the hard stuns and crowd control needed to actually stop and advance. In a traditional tank role, he is a liability that costs your team the front line. This radar chart compares Greedent's actual in-game stats against the standard defender footprint. Instead of high endurance, his profile is defined by massive spikes in mobility and scoring. To make use of that specific stat profile, you have to choose between two polarizing identities, a slippery map pressure scorer or a chaotic teamfight disruptor. Greedent is an invader, not a guardian. His success relies on picking one of those two extreme playstyles and committing to it for the full 10 minutes. Regardless of which path you take, you first have to master the engine that powers his entire kit, the berry economy. Greedent's moves physically span berries onto the field. To keep your moves active, you must track their landing spots and physically pick them up while dodging attacks in the heat of a fight. Consuming these berries provides massive on-demand self-healing and, more importantly, drastically slashes your move cooldowns. But this creates a dangerous trade-off. Enemies can steal your dropped berries to heal themselves, and if you tunnel vision on a stray drop, you can be baited into a terrible position. If you cannot manage this microeconomy under pressure, your cooldowns will stall and Greedent becomes a useless target. Managing berries keeps you alive, but to actually deal damage, both builds require a specific held item strategy, attack weight stacking. This requires you to repeatedly dive the enemy goal during the first 3 minutes, scoring tiny micro amounts, just 1 to 5 points at a time, to trigger the item's buff. This line chart maps the payoff. With each micro score, your raw attack stat scales exponentially, shifting your late-game damage from a nuisance to a lethal threat. This strategy essentially forces you to abandon your lane partner. If your early escape tools fail during a dive, you run a high risk of feeding the enemy team free experience. This cements Greedent as a fundamentally selfish combatant. Your late-game power is only earned by taking these aggressive early-game risks. If you prefer to focus on that scoring pressure, your first option is the scorer build, utilizing Bullet Seed and Stuffed Cheeks. This moveset requires dual-stick kiting. You hold down the Bullet Seed attack while moving backward to keep your distance from the target you're aiming at. Stuffed Cheeks is the perfect synergy here, generating immediate shields and a speed burst to stay just out of reach of your pursuers. This bar chart shows why that distance matters. A fully connected Bullet Seed reaches a 6,384 damage ceiling, which is significantly higher than the sustained damage thresholds of most other defenders. The vulnerability is that Bullet Seed has no unstoppable frames. A single hit from a lockdown character will cancel the move and leave you stranded. The scorer build trades team fight safety for the ability to roam the map and relentlessly pressure enemy goals. The alternative is the Belch build, which relies on the combination of Belch and Covet. This build carries a much higher mechanical tax. Covet creates highly erratic, drifting movement that you have to control by driving in literal tight circles. While you're fighting that drift, you have to simultaneously spam the Belch ability to hit the enemies you are circling. The benefit is that Covet makes you unstoppable. You can ignore crowd control and rapidly disrupt the enemy's backline. Look at this burst equation. A single 2,227 damage Belch, combined with the continuous Covet ticks, allows you to delete an enemy support's health bar in seconds. But missing that drift is punishing. If you miscalculate and hit a wall or miss your target, you're stocked with a 10-second cooldown that leaves you completely exposed. The Belch build offers massive, unstoppable impact, but its clunky movement makes it a high-stakes gamble if your control isn't perfect. To choose between these two, you have to look at your specific queue environment and your own comfort level. This framework starts with a simple choice: solo map pressure or teamfight brawling. For solo queue backcapping, the scorer build is your path. But for teamfights, are you comfortable with the Covet drift? If mastered, the Belch build is your optimal choice. Picking a build that contradicts your queue type or your skill level will limit your win rate before the match even begins. We have to address that final path. If you want to be a team fight brawler but you can't handle the Covet mechanics, the answer is play a different defender. Greedent physically cannot function as a traditional tank. He lacks the tools to peel for your teammates or hold a static line. If you want to protect your allies, you should immediately switch to Snorlax or Slowbro. Greedent is a resource-hungry invader. His value comes from forcing the enemy to abandon their game plan just to deal with your presence. Stop playing him as a generalist. Commit to a specific role